Hey, you're watching Vinyl for Miles, your best resource for music, audio gear, and vinyl reviews. Today we're looking at this awesome modern jukebox. This is the Rock-Ola Digital Deluxe Music Center. Stick around. Hey guys, I'm Michael. Welcome to the channel. This is Vinyl for Miles. What we do here is audio gear reviews, vinyl reviews, music gear, pretty much anything having to do with audio or my hobbies, I'm going to bring you content. If that's something you're interested in, why don't you go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the bell notification while you're at it so you don't miss out on future videos. This is the Rock-Ola Digital Music Center. It is a modern take on a classic jukebox. You can load anything you can think of onto this jukebox hard drive, have your friends over, put up some playlists. And not only does this aesthetically look badass for your either man cave, your house, your business, but it actually sounds really good and has some very high quality audiophile grade components built into it. And there's also some upgrades you can make. So Rock-Ola offers a few different types of jukeboxes. This company has been in business since 1927 and they've kept true to their original designs. They just adapt it for a modern audience. They have a CD version of this, a 45 version that has a little turntable built into it. And they have this digital deluxe version. Rock-Ola offers all kinds of different finishes. They even have a Jack Daniels, a Harley Davidson, or an Elvis edition if you guys are into that. Now, I was first introduced to these jukeboxes going to Black Bear Diner, which is a chain of restaurants all over California. They have some in Nevada. But every time I would go into a Black Bear Diner, they would have one of these jukeboxes there. Now, unfortunately, this is actually not mine. This is my in-laws jukebox. Now, these do cost a pretty penny, I'm not gonna lie. Anywhere from $8,000 to $12,000 and up if you want to do some more upgrades on it. Depends on which model you get and what you're looking for. But these things are hand assembled and constructed in the USA, and it has all the original nostalgic features on it, like the bubbler, the cylinder lights. It pretty much has everything you can think of back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s that made jukeboxes what they are today. So the cool thing about this jukebox is it's not like an MP3 player, or it's not like Tidal or iTunes or Spotify where you just find an artist, click play and listen to it. This is treated like an actual jukebox. So if you go to a restaurant and they have one of the premium jukeboxes or modern jukeboxes there, you put your money in and whatever track you want to listen to, it gets put into a queue. You can't skip over people. You can't just take over the jukebox. It basically builds a playlist for you. That's what essentially the digital jukeboxes do, is they build a playlist and it gets to your track that you chose when the tracks ahead of you are completed. They're trying to keep true to that fashion here, and what you can do is build current playlists, you can save playlists, but everything is queued up in song order and you're supposed to listen to it like you would at a restaurant or at a bar and get through your music that way. Now the interface on here has a custom interface that was built by Rock-Ola, and it's called the Intelligent Q-Sonics interface. I think it's been the same since around 2016. I haven't seen a whole lot of differences when I looked up other reviews of the jukebox that were a little older. So I think they've had the same interface for quite a while, but the cool thing is it connects to the internet. And what the internet connection does is it downloads album artwork. So if you're ripping your CDs to this or MP3s to this, it will reach out to the internet and pull the most current album artwork for all of your tracks on here. It also has troubleshooting. So if you run into issues with the software, you can call Rock-Ola and they can wirelessly diagnose your jukebox and see what's wrong with it. And it also provides software updates. So if there's like a newer version of the Q-Sonics interface that you want to update to, you can do it all through Wi-Fi, which is built in to this jukebox. All right, so why don't we go over the specifications of this current model. This is a special edition. This is not the entry-level digital deluxe. This one is known as the Crystal Edition. Now what that means is the sides here, where the bubbles go up and down, they're crystal clear. So you can see the light cylinders behind it. Typically these are fogged or they have a color or some kind of a transparent cream color to it. So you can see the different colors as they change on the front here, but this one is the crystal clear edition. And what you get is a brushed aluminum front, you get the clear sides on here, and you also get the blacked out look. Everything is black on the sides, all the wood is painted black. In my opinion, this is definitely the most badass version that they have. I think it fits good in any room. Some of the walnut or the other raw wood finishes that they have, they look a lot older, not as modern. So I really do like the take on this. It looks very streamlined, very modern, and very clean. Now, all of their jukeboxes are made in California and they are hand assembled. This does come with a hard drive on here and you can store up to 13,000 CDs. That's right. This is a massive hard drive. You can store all of your CD collections on here, go on eBay, get some cheap CDs, rip them directly to this jukebox and they will be there forever for all your friends and family to enjoy. This also comes with a Bluetooth module built in. It's on the inside of the jukebox. You can always leave it on, connect your phone to the jukebox, stream music from your phone if you like. So you could do Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music, whatever you like, you can connect it to here. However, you're not gonna get the Apple Music or Tidal or Spotify interface. It's all through Bluetooth. The cool thing about this too is it treats it like the ones that you find in restaurants and bars, meaning there is a line in, and that line in is connected by default to the Bluetooth transmitter. However, if you don't want to use the Bluetooth transmitter, hook up something like a Sonos amp or a digital music streaming service, you can hook that up and this will play music in the background of whatever you choose. And then when someone interacts with the jukebox and puts on a playlist or puts on an album, it'll mute the background music and the jukebox will take over just like at restaurants and bars. Play the music selected here. When it gets to the end of the playlist, it then goes back to the default music source, which is either Bluetooth or line in, and it'll start playing the other music that you had here previously. Now inside this jukebox, there is 5 speakers. So it is a dual three-way system for a live performance sound. It does have an onboard 5-band EQ, so if you want to tweak the sound, you can in the settings, which is great. Of course, this comes with a touchscreen monitor, so everything is done with your fingers. There's no buttons on here. The remote control is included, and this thing weighs about 245 pounds. There is wheels on it, but just know when you get this thing delivered to your house and installed, if you need to move it, it is a beast to move. All right, so why don't we go ahead and go over the interface and I can show you guys how to use this jukebox. All right, let's go. So I'm out of frame right now, but I want you guys to focus on the screen. So this is the touch screen and I'm gonna show you how the interface works. So at first glance, in the top left corner up here, you can choose how you want to browse your music. There's album, and when you go to album, it basically lists in alpha order all of the albums that are on this jukebox. You can browse by artist. Now, same thing, you could browse by artist to see who is on the jukebox, but let's say I wanna jump to, let's say Queen. There is an alpha order at the bottom where you could choose the letter, and I click Q. It jumped me into Q and I want to find Queen. Here is Queen. Click on the artist and here we go. Now I can browse through all of the Queen albums on the jukebox. As easy as that. Going back up to the top left, you can go by genre. So if you feel like listening to classic country, you can click on that, go through your country. If you feel like listening to dance, it'll filter all the dance music. And every time you click into a genre, if you want to get back to the genre list, all you have to do is click the genre up here, dance, and it goes back to the master list here. All right, below genre, we do have composer, if you're looking for the composer like John Williams, but I don't think there's anyone loaded in on this one. You can go by cover, and what this does is it just shows you the album cover. So if you're browsing through and looking at album covers, let's say I want to listen to Grateful Dead, I can look from a glance in alpha order which album I want to listen to. Here's all the Grateful Dead albums, and let's click on this one, and you can start listening that way. I like cover. If I had a playlist going, I'd probably go back to cover mode so everyone can see all the really cool, beautiful album artwork that is on this jukebox. We go by year. If you want to look at, a genre from a year, let's go into the 1980s. We can go, here's some AC/DC, Aerosmith. It lets you browse that way. There is a search. So if you want to search for a specific artist, again, let's use Queen. You can type in Queen, search. And what this does is it brings up everything with Queen in the track title, the artist, pretty much anything to that extent. So just keep that in mind when you are searching for keywords, it's going to basically pull up everything for that keyword. So if I wanted to find the song Black Hole Sun, let's just type in Black Hole Sun. Here it is, Black Hole Sun just popped up. Soundgarden, so you can do a text search if you guys would like. Finally, there is the all button, and that just shows pretty much everything. There is 2 more buttons down here. There's recent. This shows you what was imported recently, and today you can see Jim Brickman was imported today. And then there's also an imported button, which shows you MP3s or waves, anything you load on here via USB, which there's nothing currently loaded from USB. This has all been CDs so far. All right, cool. So why don't we go ahead and go back and I'll show you how this works. So let's go find Soundgarden again, because I like Soundgarden. We're gonna go to Artist, I'm gonna go to S, and Soundgarden, here we go. So here's how this jukebox works. You have your playlists on the top right. And this is stuff that you've saved previously. So if you're building a playlist and you want to save it, you can, and it's always on the hard drive. But if you're throwing a party and you have people over and you want to give the reins to your guests to start listening to music and putting music on here, first thing you're gonna do is clear your entire playlist. You click the drop down there, clear your playlist so there's nothing there. If you want to listen to an entire album, so I got Soundgarden here, and let's say I want to listen to all of Bad Motorfinger, you click the album cover and then you drag it into this open blue space on the right. Now it preloads all the music and you just click play. Now it's going to go through in order and play this entire album. If you want to skip tracks, you can. Click the skip button. If you want to adjust your volume, it's on the right-hand side here. Click it once. It pops open like that. You can turn the volume up, turn the volume down. And you have 2 presets for volume too. So if you have a certain level you like for background music, you can set it here. And then if you want to have some focused listening, you can turn it on there. All right, so I'm going to stop this and let's go ahead and clear the playlist. Clear entire playlist. So going back to Bad Motorfinger here, what I did before is I clicked and dragged it. There's also another way to do the same thing is you click this drop down here and you can click play now and it loads the entire album in there without you clicking and dragging it. So there's kind of 2 ways to do it. I like the click and drag. It makes it feel a little more interactive, a little more fun for the user. Now, if you like what you just made and you want to save this, so why don't we go do this? Since I love Soundgarden, click Soundgarden. I'm going to go through and add all of their albums to this playlist that they have on here. So now there is a ton of Soundgarden here. Look at all of these tracks. So we have Super Unknown, Bad Motorfinger, King Animal, and I want to save this as a playlist. So in the future, when my friends come over and we want to listen to Soundgarden, I have all their albums queued up, ready to go. But let's just say a track on here I don't like Black Saturday, let's say. Click on the track, use the drop down, and you can delete track from playlist, which I just did. So that track is now gone. This is my now playing queue, and I'm going to save it. So let's say I want to play it later. Click the drop down and you're gonna click save as new playlist. You could delete what it does it by default, which is like the date and the time. And I'm just gonna type in Soundgarden space, jams, J-A-M-S. Okay, done. Now, if you look at your playlists, I'm gonna clear what's playing now, clear entire playlist. And if I look up top and I'm going through my playlists, under S, here's Soundgarden Jams. And if I want to listen to it, click and drag it down here, and I have my playlist ready to go. Pretty straightforward. All right, so now I'm going to go over how you can import your music. There's a few ways to do that. All right, so on the front here, you're going to see some cutouts. This is for your speakers. These are your top 2 tweeters. You have 2 woofers down there, and there's also like a sub box on the back. But going from left to right, this is your CD drive. Pop this open. You would stick your album in here. Close it. It would queue up the import software and it'll start importing the CD all by itself. It'll go on the internet, pull the album artwork, and you can change some of the track titles if you want to, or modify the tracks that you're importing, but it's pretty much all done automatically and built into the software, which is great. Moving beyond this, there is your power button. This is how you turn it on and off. This just turns on the software and the jukebox. There's also a master switch on the back that you're gonna use. And then right here is your USB input. You can put MP3s, albums onto a thumb drive, stick it on here. You then go into settings. You go to import media. And when you put this thumb drive in here, it's gonna show you a list of folders on the thumb drive. You would then click the folder you wanna import and click begin import. That's pretty much all you have to do there. It's also worth noting you can burn CDs too. So if you like this playlist and you want to share it with people and you have a blank CD, stick the blank CD in here because this does read and write. You would click the drop down on the playlist you're playing and click burn to CD. And that's pretty much it. You could then burn your favorite tracks onto the CD. Okay, cool. So why don't we go over some of the settings within your settings menu. So if we click on the settings button, this is your system management page. So you have maintenance on here, you have import media, backup system, restore system, calibrate touchscreen, show cursor, which you always want on so you can see where you're touching. And then the system backup reminder is every 1,000 tracks. If you click on features, this is your Q bar. And if you click the little question mark there, it kind of shows you what they're talking about with the Q bar. But there's a Q bar, track previewing, album editing, enable playlists, and allow creation of new playlists. So if you're having some friends over and you don't want a bunch of playlists clouding up your jukebox and you don't want people creating playlists, you can just turn it off while they're over. So my father-in-law does have this set to maximum playlist unlimited and perform maintenance when idle. So this will go through and it probably defragments your hard drive and performs auto maintenance when no one's using it, which is nice. Now, if you go into the media, this is your media groups. It provides the ability to create customized groups of albums based on genre. And so you can filter all of your media by artist, genre, and you can put filtered settings like explicit. If you don't want, children who are over to hear those songs that are explicit, you can have, it's called adult content filtering here. You could turn that on. Access, so this is protected access. If you enable this, it gives you a 4-digit code that you can lock the entire system. So you can preset all the music you want to play. If you don't want kids coming over here or people, or people that you have over to mess with your jukebox or change the playlist that you already have active, you can just turn on this 4-digit code and pretty much block access to the jukebox while it's playing to only people who know that code, which is great. There's a screensaver, which I'm not sure how this one works, but it looks like after 3 minutes of inactivity, it loads up a screensaver. You could probably load in some custom pictures, it looks like, off of a thumb drive and have a custom screensaver. Then you have your date and your time. So let's go over to network. This is your network tag. So this is basically telling me that it is connected to Wi-Fi because there's a Wi-Fi transmitter built into this. Your network places, that's if you want to share music from a media drive, or if you want to share it over the network, you can do it through here and you can discover and share music that way. And then there's also media sharing. So this will allow other devices such as a PC, media adapter, streaming clients to access the music stored on this QSonic system. This will work with like Sonos or other media streaming products, which is great. So if you have your house decked out with Sonos and you want to get this jukebox and broadcast to your whole house, you actually can do that. Let's go to playback. So when you click the playback, this is where your 5-band EQ is. You got rock, swing, dance, classical, and flat. Flat obviously gives you a flat line here, but you can mess with the frequencies manually and make your own 5-band EQ. You just press down or up on each one of these. I actually really like dance. I think it sounds pretty crisp for rock music and for dance and other stuff like that. So we've been kind of messing with it and keeping it on dance mode, but it is fully customizable. If you're into audio, you know how to set a 5-band EQ, you can do it. All right, finally, there's just the information tab. Whoops, I didn't mean to close that out. And the information tab just lets you know, hey, you have a Rock-Ola QSonics interface. It is version 3.5.f. Available space left on the hard drive. This is a 1 terabyte hard drive that came with this one. And it tells you how many tracks. They currently have 35,000 tracks on this jukebox. It tells you your albums, your artists, your genres, and your playlists. There's currently only 12 playlists on here, but again, there's an unlimited amount of playlists that you can create on this jukebox. Pretty cool. All right, so that is the basics of the Music Center. All right, so why don't we open up the jukebox and take a look at the internal components. Let's go. All right, guys, so I have the jukebox opened up. On the left-hand side, there's a little key, a little latch. You unlock that and you can pull open the front of the jukebox and look at the internal components for maintenance, upgrades, or if you just want to see how this thing works. So starting at the very top, this is the brain of the entire jukebox. Basically, it's a Windows 10 machine. What's cool is they fitted the hard drive on top. So if you want to upgrade your hard drive or add more space or add a whole nother hard drive, it gives you the flexibility to do so. This up here is your audio component card. So this is where your ins and outs are. On the very back of the jukebox, you can see there are speaker outs if you want to connect them to external speakers. There's an audio out. There's all kinds of stuff that you can do on the back of this thing. And it's all ran by this audio card up here. Now on the back, there is a line in, and what's currently connected to it by default is this. You can't really see it from this angle, but right here is a Bluetooth transmitter. You press and hold it, it goes into pairing mode, and then you can then pair your phone to the jukebox and play your music without having any issues. All of the cables going to each component in here are tied up. The cable management is amazing on this thing. Moving down, this is your power source. This is providing power to the entire jukebox. On the back, there is a master switch for on off. Right here, this is your Wi-Fi transmitter. So this is what is getting the Wi-Fi to the jukebox. Now, the cool thing about the jukebox is you're not streaming music. So the only thing this Wi-Fi transmitter is doing is updating your software, sending maintenance information, errors, and pulling in your album artwork. So if you have slow internet, no worries, this will work and it will pull the album artwork and save it to the local hard drive. Moving below that, we have down here, we have a QSC amp. This is a 425 watt amp and it is clean power. Now you do have options on here to add more channels if you'd like. So this system can get very, very loud. On the back, there are some dials on this amp to choose how much power you want to send to the speakers. By default, they're about 3/4 of the way up. I would not recommend turning it all the way up unless you want to blow your speakers. This does not have super large speakers in it. I believe it's 2 5-inch woofers and 2 1 to 2 inch tweeters on this. And there's all kinds of options for connecting extra speakers to this thing. So if you wanted to play music throughout your entire house and have this be the brain of all your music, you can do that easily. So again, this isn't made for focused listening like an audiophile would do. This is just like a whole entertainment center all in one. So at the very bottom here, this is your sub box. So this will take the resonant bass frequencies from your woofers right here, and it kind of pulls it into there and gives you a lot more bottom end. This jukebox has a ton of bottom end. That's the one thing I noticed is I had to kind of go into the EQ and turn up the treble a little bit because some of those tracks, depending on what bit rate you transferred it to the jukebox, like some of the lower bitrate MP3s sounded a little muddy, so I had to kind of bump the highs up a little bit. But the cool thing is that you can preset your EQ. That way you can set it, forget it. That's pretty much everything in here, and you can see this is solid construction. This is made from very, very high quality component wood. Everything on here is just top notch. And again, you're paying top dollar for this, so it's what you should expect from something that's expensive. Okay, so now we're on the back side of the case. So this is what opens, and this is pretty much everything you see on the front, right? So here is your touchscreen. Touchscreen goes here. This is your CD drive. Again, cable management on this is precise. It is really good. Everything is very clear as to what it plugs into. If you have to troubleshoot this, it's extremely easy to do. We have your top 2 tweeters here, and there's 2 more tweeters up here. You get your 2 woofers at the bottom. We have our light cylinders here. So as you can see, it's just a colored cylinder, and as it moves, it looks kind of like a barbershop pole. It changes the colors that are being reflected on the outside. Super cool, and they're keeping true to their heritage. The gears down here are rotating. Again, they could have put LED light bars in here and done all kinds of crazy stuff, but they're trying to keep it true to the original turntables that they made through the 20s, all the way up until the 90s. Now there's a lot of reflective brushed metal in here too, and that helps reflect the light from these cylinders and push it out to the front. Now you can see in the back here, you have your bubblers. So again, there is 4 bubblers on the bottom and there's 4 on top. So you get 4 curved ones and 4 ones on the bottom. The way these work is just like the old school ones. They heat up. It looks like an oil mix or some kind of water oil mix. When it heats up to a certain degree, it pushes those bubbles in an upward motion. And that is how you get the movement there. So like I was saying, here's the bottom light cylinder. So you get a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 light cylinders on this that are changing the colors. No LED lights used anywhere. This is all completely true to the heritage of the jukebox. The only modern component on here is going to be the touchscreen, your amp, and having the capability to do Bluetooth. Everything else kind of kicks it old school. Everything is painted matte black on the inside too, using high quality paint. So here's the back of the jukebox. And what we have up here is your zone outputs, which is awesome. So if you want to connect this to external amps and play music throughout your house or restaurant, company, like wherever you have this in your break room, in your man cave, you do get zone output for 2 zone outputs and you get 1 fixed output. You have a switch here for your internal amplifier to go to stereo zone 1 or mono zone 2, if you want to switch it. You have your auxiliary in, which is currently hooked up to the Bluetooth module. So you see this, it's hooked up to the Bluetooth module. If you wanted to hook up a Sonos streaming device to this and have it play music while no one's using the jukebox, you would just unplug this auxiliary in and plug in your Sonos amp, Sonos receiver, whatever you're using, or your media streaming box. There's all kinds of them out there. I've done a review of quite a few of them on my channel before. And then down here, which is great, is you just have your speaker out. So if you want to connect external speakers to this, it uses the power amp here and it will power them. You get 2 zones. So if you want to put left and a right, or put them in the back of your room or whatever, you can wire them up through here. You do get these beefy handles, which are very familiar on music gear, like for live equipment. You do get those beefy handles here. Everything is painted matte black. Again, this is all solid wood construction. It's not using composite wood or anything like that. So moving down and back, here's where your main power comes out. There is a master power switch here. So you can turn this off if you don't want anyone to turn it on from the front where that green button was. Moving to the very bottom of the jukebox on the back, this is your amp. This is the upgraded QSC amp. You can turn your power on or off down here. You can change your amp if you want to buy an upgraded one, do whatever you want with it, but I actually really like this amp that's built into it. You do get your zone 1 and zone 2. You can turn up the power if you'd like. It's set currently almost 3/4 of the way up. I would leave it where it's at, not really mess with this. Again, you don't want to blow your speakers. Then finally, the last thing you get to see at the very bottom is a little hole here. And a lot of people might be wondering, what is this? There's a little mesh on there, so like rats and stuff don't get in there. This is your sub port, so all of the woofer, low bass frequencies go into the box that I showed you in here, and they come out the back. So if you do have this against a wall, I'd recommend giving it a few inches of breathing space for that bass to escape the chassis and give it more resonance. Again, you get some more handles down here, so if you're pulling this thing around, there's a nice hefty handle on here that can take all kinds of weight on it. And finally, you can't see, but at the very bottom here, there's wheels. So this thing moves around really easily. I'm not sure if they're lockable casters. Unless you're on a hill, I don't think this thing's moving anywhere. It's pretty heavy. All right, so we went through all the features, how to use the interface. We went through all the specifications, the construction, pretty much everything you can cover on this jukebox. So what are my final thoughts on this? This is an amazing piece for anyone's man cave, living room, music room, break room at work, restaurant. Like there's so many different applications for something this cool. Now, what is the audience for a jukebox like this? Probably not the average consumer like myself. Again, these go from $8,000 all the way up to $12,000 on their website. If you go with the upgrades or if you get the special edition ones, all kinds of different finishes on these, all kinds of different lighting options. There's special edition ones, there's a whole lot of options. But if you do have that kind of cash and you want to get something that is not only like the center point of your room, but something that can stream music and be the hub for entertainment in your house, this is a great option. Everything on here is made from top-notch quality components. What you get in your house is not cheap. This thing is built like a tank. It's gonna last you for years. The only thing I can see having any issues is it is a digital platform. It is using an internal computer. So that would be the only fail point I can see, is if there's software issues or hard drive issues, something to that extent. But there's daily backups on this. They do have tech support, and it's really easy to troubleshoot and replace if a component does go bad versus, let's say, a 45 jukebox that has all those mechanical components in it. That would be a little more tedious, and you probably need a maintenance person to come in and fix that. But overall, this is a killer jukebox. I look forward to using it when I come to my in-laws, and maybe one day I can afford one of these for my place. If you guys enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Leave some comments below. What do you guys think of this modern jukebox? Does it bring back the nostalgic memories of seeing these in restaurants and diners? If it does, I'd love to hear from you guys. And while you're at it, go hit the subscribe button, bell notification so you see my future videos. Thank you so much for sticking through this video and watching it. I appreciate it. See you next time.